Hello.
Hey, good morning,
Hello.
What's happening? Welcome
We're
to
the garden weasels. Welcome to the show.
welcome to the drumstick twirling center of the country. My name is Jeremy Steinkohler, here this morning with my good dear friends and amazing drummer educators, Rick Stojak, Bart Roby, Bart Roby, and Chip Ritter. Welcome back, everybody.
Chip Ritter.
So excited to be here with you guys today because we're going to talk about something very near and dear to our hearts and one of my favorite educational tools that exists in the world today, and that is the series of books entitled How to Build. Oh, you can't see it when I hold it up. Hold on. How to Build a Drum Groove by none other than our very own Rick Stojak.
The dude above me.
Woo! Wow. Look at that glossy cover.
Look at that. Look at this handsome dude right here. Look at this. Look at that.
He's got the Tom Cruise jacket on.
Did you just get done flying? Hey, when they took this picture, you just got done flying your F-15, didn't you?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, Miramar is about 2 miles north of me.
Hey, Jim Kersey's a fan of the show, and him and I keep wanting to go to Miramar and go on the tour. So cool.
I can look up and I can see Maverick and Iceman and Goose right from my studio.
Do they ever fly upside down and take a picture of you inverted?
making gestures?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that. But it's an air show here all the time.
That's awesome.
Because they're always maneuvering. It's super cool.
Very cool.
And there's finally something louder than a music studio, those jets.
Something had to drown you out.
Yeah, something had to do it. Yeah.
You know, there's the guys like scrubbing the side of the boat. Like, hey, when do I get to fly the planes? We need to finish the other side.
Dude, I know I could do it. You sit down, you press the throttle, you haul ass and go that way, and when you go really fast, you pull the stick back. How hard can it be? How hard can it be?
Getting up seems the easy part. Coming down seems like it could be the hard part, you know?
No, you just go slow. You slow down and you take your time.
All right. You know? So we're here to talk about How to Build a Drum Groove. These amazing books by Rick Stojak, and these books really are truly amazing.
They are.
There's so much material in them that is so great. It's so comprehensive. That's one of the things I love the most about these books is how comprehensive they are. Yeah. I use them in my teaching practice. I've had students bring them to me, and of course now I'm recommending them all the time to people, teachers and students alike. Bart and Chip, we'll just throw it to you guys. When did you first get hip to these books, and how do you use them in your teaching practice?
Chip, go.
Hey, I got turned on to these books when I met Rick Stojak, and I went to rickstojak.com. Mm-hmm. And this book series is great, especially for beginning drummers who want to get up and start playing music. He's got the detailed beats all over the place with the eighth notes starting on the first book, and he's got quarter notes in there, and he's got entire playlists of different songs you can play with each beat. And so that was about, I don't know, when was that, Rick? When did I meet you?
Wow, Chip. Well,
in a few years.
First book came out in 2012, so
yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while, probably 2012 or 13.
And then since then, most all of my students have the first book, and many of them have all three. The ones that are available. So it's very good. I use them in my teaching, and I can't agree more with Jeremy. They're super comprehensive. They take you all the way around the grooves and all the way around the beats and the fills, and they're just fantastic. I love them. How about you, Bart?
Most great.
You know, it was kind of the same thing. I remember meeting Rick at NAMM at the Sabian booth. Yeah. And one of my favorite things about Rick, and I always joke with him about this and stuff, but the second that I met Rick, he's like he's a positive energy hand grenade. He just, and it's just, wow, man, this guy's awesome. And when we met at NAMM, we got along right away. It was just right away. And he was like, hey, man, I wrote this book. And I don't remember which volume you gave me, but just the fact that he was so detailed in how he had his presentation to me. You know, he's like, I've got all these songs, they're listed in the back, and then you can take this song and you can apply it to, or take this groove and apply it to a song, and suddenly you can play a song. Well, at NAMM, you know, everybody is telling you how cool they are, right? That's what people at NAMM do. They and the drummers, we all walk around going like this, like we open the show. That's what we do. Yeah, exactly. That's what we do. We walk around and, hey, I'm cool. Look at me, you know. And Rick just, it was different with him. And I took the book home, and I remember thinking he wasn't cool. No, he had on his Tom Cruise jacket. You know? And it's like, no, he was like, man, this is I was thinking this is a great book. And I always like that approach, because of, if you can play this groove, you may not land all the fills, you may not land everything, but for a young student or somebody that's new to drumming, they can grab a hold of it right away. I remember the way that I learned how to play drums. It was on an old beat up practice pad, and it was very regimented. You had to know your rudiments. You had to learn how to read. You had to learn how to know your rudiments. And then finally you graduated into drum set. Right. And I think we would all agree that if we had to teach drums the way that we learn drums, it'd be very hard to make a living at that like we do.
Yeah.
So I think Rick is kind of taken this new way of thinking of, hey, yeah, the rudiments and reading it, all the nuts and bolts of drumming, super important. You can't do it without that, right? Rick says that, you know. But at the same time, while you're working on that end of the craft, you can be having some fun over here on your drum set, playing along with Sharp Dressed Man. That song's an earworm now, thanks to Chip and Rick. And you can play along with maybe a jazz tune or two. And what I like about this one, Volume 2, mastering 16th note grooves. There's a lot of stuff in here to help you with your bass drum foot, getting your speed up on your foot, all sorts of great stuff. And just the attention to detail is amazing. So that's how I met Rick. And that's what first really made an impression on me about Rick. And just a great dude, man.
Man,
there's so much material out there. And I don't just mean books and things to study and things to work on. I just mean like what's possible, right? We as drum instructors have this responsibility to try to help people who are interested in learning to play to, like, you know, take what's like a giant, you know, flood of information and narrow it down to a straw so they can, you know, take it in, right?
Yep.
And how we organize that material goes a long way toward how effectively they learn it, right? If we just sort of throw things at them, you know, randomly, or we jump from topic to topic, or we don't get sort of methodically deep enough in the right manner with any one topic, they end up walking away with really nothing. And so how you organize the information and what, you know, how you present it is of paramount importance to how well they can learn it, I believe. And that's one of the things. What's that?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That's one of the things I like so much about Rick's books is how they're organized and how they're presented. It's really, really smart. It's not just a random collection of ideas. The books are not just like, oh, hey, here's this and here's this, and it's a kitchen sink and go with whatever.
Right.
It's like, if you go through the book in order, it makes perfect sense, and it helps you develop your skills, and they match with the complexity of the songs that he suggests that you try playing with. And it gets you off the ground. It's like, I feel like these books are excellent launchers, right? They get you off the ground, playing simple beats, starting really simple, and then one step at a time, you know, you're playing. But right from the beginning, he's suggesting you're playing with songs. And so it's not like an academic exercise that you're going through these books. Right. You know, I think it's easy for us to forget. So many of the guests we have on the deck, and when we talk amongst ourselves, you know, we've all been playing for 20, 30 years, sometimes longer. And, you know, we take for granted how the beginning part, because it was so long ago for us, you know. Yeah, we work on the students, but that beginning part is so important, because that often like makes or breaks people's paths toward becoming real good drummers, right? Like your first lessons, your first teacher, the first song you learn, whatever, all that stuff is really formative. And these books are just the bomb in terms of getting people inspired and enabling them to have success quickly and make it feel like they're playing drums. So then all that more challenging stuff can come in later when they're ready for it.
I want to say something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to break in with a station identification break. and say hello to some of our peeps out here. Kathy Smith, good morning. I love Rick's books and his lessons. Oh, no, it's
Kathy.
certainly not just for beginners. His stuff can be challenging. Jim Royal said, hello, gentlemen. He truly loves Rick's book series. It's so well put together. And David Betts says hi from the UK. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Hello, Mr. Betts.
Don't forget rickstojak.com.
Oh,
You forgot to say back to our regularly scheduled program.
Now, back to our program. Take it, Bart.
I gotta say this.
sorry.
No, man, I was grooving. Don't stop. That was one of the things that Jeremy said that I really like. You know, it's our responsibility, and I think it is. And that being said, I'm going to throw this to Rick and actually have him chime in. Finally, as far as the responsibility is concerned, you've definitely, Rick, taken it to that next level, not only with your books, but your drum studio and everything. And it's very inspirational, very impressive, and very well put together, like Jim Royal said, like everybody has said. So my question to you, to kind of throw it to you, is this. I mean, this is a large portion of your life put into these books, put together, and I also know that you've said that, you know, this is your main focus. It's not being in a band, it's not being on the road, it's about being a teacher, getting your books done, and getting these four volumes out. What an undertaking. How did that come to be? How did you take it?
Well, I was teaching using a lot of the classic when I first got started, using a lot of the classic books. Mm-hmm. And I would notice that there'd be in any given book a few eighth note beats. Mm-hmm. Maybe a page. And I would notice that people aren't really grooving. Like they could play the beats, but maybe the volumes of the instruments were all kind of out of whack. Like the hi-hats were too loud, or every time they hit the hi-hat, every time they hit the kick, the hi-hat would go louder, and something as our straight up beat that we all play and love. People just wouldn't have it together, and then the books would go to some fancy stuff so people could get to some fancy, really syncopated thing right away. And I thought, well, wait, why don't I just find a song that uses kick, snare, and let's work on that. And let's work on our dynamics with that. And let's work on our hands with that and develop your sense of tempo. Oh, and by the way, I would notice that the song is 100 beats a minute. So we could start talking about what is 100 beats a minute per se. So people started understanding tempo as applied to actual real songs. So we would play a song and that was, they were really inspired. And they said, well, what other songs can I play to that use that beat? And so basically this is created out of necessity, which is how any product that ever has been successful, it's because it filled a void that hadn't been fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And playing along to music as a drum student, honestly, I don't think that had been fulfilled. You could find a book and someone would make their own creative little song, but usually those songs I felt were really kiddie songs. Like I never heard like that many great songs in an instructional method book. Or something that maybe be on the radio that everyone would have access to. So, and I'm sure there's some really, really great ones out there, like the Tommy Igoe stuff is amazing. Like some of the songs.
Oh, phenomenal. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but it didn't, you're thinking, well, wow, do we need another drum method book? But I felt like, well, look, there's not a book exactly like this. So I started collecting songs that had steady beats and started building it all up, and it took forever and ever because I was just constantly listening and like, hey, that song is steady enough that I think we can pair it with kick snare, kick snare. So just, I don't know if you guys could see that.
There you go.
This whole top column here is all beat one, and it's slowest to fastest.
Oh yeah.
What page is that? Is that book one?
Yeah, this is book one, page 4, It's
Okay.
the eighth note beats variation playlist.
Okay.
So you've got beat
All
one,
of my students do all of those songs. It's great.
every
So
single
cool.
one. So I wanted to grab songs that were known, that people like. Now, of course, I don't have any recordings of those songs or me drumming along to them. The copywriting on that would be crazy.
Right.
But
Right.
a nice little list of songs that people can refer to. I honor these songs by putting them in this book.
Right.
And
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of people have been introduced to these songs that wouldn't have otherwise
Mhm.
even known who these artists are. But they're all mainstream artists. And I like to have it as a very, I want to like the song too. So it covers, the songs that I choose cover all different genres and different decades as well.
Mhm.
But then you're going to change the beat, boom, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, boom, bap, boom, bap. And then there's songs in the second column that use that. I only found 3 songs with boom, boom, bap, boom, bap. So some beats will pair with I'll be able to find lots of songs for one beat, and then maybe I'll add a beat like, somebody used this one beat in a song, and I don't have any other song that I could use as an example. So
Mhm.
all in all, the first volume has got near 400 songs in it for people to play along
Wow.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really like there's so many drum books out there that are very academic, right?
Yeah.
They're full of exercises and coordination patterns, and that's
Right.
great if that's what you're looking for. But for
Right.
beginners, that's sort of putting the cart before the horse, right? Like
Right.
I've had students, private students, and also in the bandworks program that I teach, the School of Rock and Roll thing, who can play all manner of complicated beats and coordination patterns, but can't groove and really lay something down.
With
Right.
it too.
Yeah, and
Right.
that as we all know, that's what makes you employable, right? That's what makes you a drummer that other musicians want to play with, is your ability to play to the song and keep good time and lay down a pocket and play with good feel. And those are not things that you can get entirely from a book, especially if you're trying to play these things that are more complicated than what you should be working on, which is just, doing better with the things that are easier,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Keeping better time, having a better balance of dynamics between the parts of the kit, working on your stroke and the consistency of your snare drum strike and how tight your hi-hat is and how loud your bass drum is in relationship to the snare, et cetera, like Rick was talking about. And those are the things that are going to make you sound better right off the bat,
Right.
immediately, more so, much more so than playing this next complicated pattern with all the 16th note syncopation and whatnot. So I that's what I love about these books. I'll say it again, is just that they're working toward getting you playing music and not just being, not just playing coordination patterns.
Right.
Exactly. It's all cool to work on all the different rudiments and polyrhythmic stuff and all that. But I'm trying to get people inspired, and I'm trying to have them have fun, and I'm trying to prepare them for the real world of drumming and get them on the gig right away.
It's
And
working.
Well said.
that's
Yeah,
it.
it's working.
And I don't want to diminish the value of doing rudiments, but I'm trying to run a business here too. I'm trying to make a living. And if I insist that someone does a flam tap and a paradiddle and all these rudiments and get every roll imaginable, and then they have to spend the whole lesson to that, I just find that they're not inspired. And I think it's a different era, it's a different age, it's a fast-paced society, but I don't think that anyone's diminishing their playing by getting right into grooving to songs.
Right. Well, and the other thing is that if they get into it and they get the bug, or whatever you want to call the inspiration, all that stuff can come later.
Right. Exactly.
Because I have
That's the thing
students.
about.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that's the thing about the first book that I really enjoyed as a teacher, is it gets the students up and learning music right there on day one. You know what I mean? You're right there into the music.
Exactly. And let's say I've got a song and it's got some stops and goes and different fills, and you're a new drummer.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with just laying down the beat and improvising some fills over that, or at least try to catch the stop. So you're learning to read, you read the beat, okay, because I wrote it out for you and you could hear that that beat's in the song. Well, let's play along to it. So in the studio, I've got, multiple drum sets. My students on the left kit, I'm over here. I've got a flat screen up here and connected to my iPad. So all the songs are on YouTube and we're playing along to the song right here in the room. We're both grooving together. So now they're getting this like, wow, I'm in a rehearsal studio and I'm jamming with someone,
Yeah.
It's still valid. Doesn't just because I'm playing drums and not it's still valid that they're actually getting a jam going.
Oh yeah.
And they're kind of learning what it means to be in do double drumming, which a lot of people don't ever get to do.
Exactly. Or working with a percussionist and a drummer. And then because everybody just wants to improvise. Of course they do, and they should, and they need to learn to improvise. So what a great way to learn to improvise. You're laying down. Right? Let's improvise a fill. Let's improvise a fill over that. Right. Let's, in a way, you're kind of using the song as a metronome and using it as a platform to improvise. If you try to improvise to Rush or Foo Fighters, it's not going to happen.
Not going to work real well.
It's not going to work really, really, really well. I mean, great, challenge yourself. That I totally encourage that. But I think there should be I found it very successful to start with. I know what the groove is. I know what the beat is. Let's make that solid. And then we can improvise some fills. And then while we're both jamming, I might go. And they're like, what was that? I go, that was called the 5-stroke roll, man. Like, really, how do you do that? And suddenly they want to learn that. Right? And they're all excited. Like, oh my God. And you went, boom.
It's like, Rick, as if you put a piece of broccoli inside of an ice cream cone.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not like that. That would suck. That would be horrible. What are you talking about? Rick's kicking ass, and you're talking about broccoli and ice cream. What is wrong with you?
Come on, I'm trying to say that he's sneaking in what's good for you.
I'm joking.
Sneaking in the fundamentals.
I'm joking. I have a question in regards to. Sorry, Jeremy. I just had to.
Bart, if you could hold that for a second, because
yeah.
Because if I started out with here's the drum pad, here's my drum pad over here, my Drumeo P4 practice pad. If I start with that, they get bored. They get bored, and sadly in San Diego and maybe different regions, you might have to approach your teaching style, but sadly we don't have a strong music school program. And we don't have a good drum corps thing going on. If anything, here in San Diego, we're a surf city, man. And so students have to have, I think they have to be able to apply it. So, right, if they're in school band, then they're going to want to get into their flams and rolls, but they're going to start using them right away. So, got to sneak them in. I'm sorry, Bart, what were you going to say?
Oh, no. And I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. I apologize. My question is this. You mentioned two things. You mentioned Tommy Igoe's books and playing a song is like playing with a metronome. And I fully agree. I use Tommy Igoe's books and his play-alongs all the time.
Yeah.
And let's face it, they're recorded, on a computer. It's metronomically perfect. It's lined up to the grid. And it's hard, if not impossible, to play like that. I mean, that's the way they make records nowadays. That's a whole nother subject. But let's say you're using a song and talking to students like it's a metronome.
Yeah.
And the first song that comes to mind, the second song that I always teach somebody is Michelle by the Beatles, because you learn how to play a quarter note groove.
Right.
You learn how to swing the kick drum. There's no fills. You just hold on to the groove. Been doing that for years and years and years.
Perfect.
And it's
song.
And you get to learn the side stick, great song. But as we all know, when you get to the end of the song, Ringo kind of drags the beat a little bit, slows down a little bit. Now, this is way before things were perfect in the recording studio.
Yeah.
How do you approach that with a student, since you're talking about, playing with a metronome? Do you approach that? How do you talk about that?
That's a great question. And what a huge song to, I mean, that's beautiful, Bart.
Right?
That's the great part about showing them a beat written on paper and they can read it.
Mm-hmm.
And then having multiple songs that use that beat. Because if you listen to those multiple songs, you're going to hear multiple different feels, even though it's all written on the same paper. So you have to interpret it. I always tell them, you've got to play for what's best for the band. Best. You've got us, like you're always saying, Bart, what you always say, the most important thing on the stage is the song.
Exactly.
So sure, most of the time we're playing with a metronome and we have to make it feel human. I had some great lessons I took with Zorro, like the human drum machine. I'm playing with clicks and making it feel like a human. And so you might listen to a song and say, well, that one isn't metrically perfect. And oddly enough, some of the most successful drummers in the world are not metrically perfect. If you put a BPM app up, you're going to just play the song and look at song BPM, and you're going to see that the tempo is changing, but the feel isn't changing. The feel works for the song. So that's valid. It's not an excuse to not have good time. But what if the artist wanted to speed it up at the end or wanted to slow down a part? We have to be aware of that not everything is exactly perfect, but God, it's got to feel good. So I find it very valid to try to play along to some old R&B stuff, some, Motown stuff. Some of that has the best feel in the world, but there's some fluctuation. So it's all
Black
about,
Dog, if you listen to Black Dog, that's a hard song to play. Real simple groove, but it's a hard song to play because, and this is just me being a knucklehead, in my opinion, in the first verses, he's like really laid back. And then the second one, he's really on top of the beat, man. Come on, let's get back in. And then the third one, he's really laid back, and I think there's that ebb and flow with the band, and they're going off of the vocal. Anyway, I'm off subject a little bit, but I always wondered about that with you because I know you talk about the song being a metronome, and I love that answer. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And, going back to all these different drummers too, who might not be metrically perfect. Think about like Charlie Watts. Charlie Watts playing with the Rolling Stones. Everything grooved like crazy, but it wasn't always perfectly in tempo, but it still worked. Yeah. So
the word that comes to mind for me is elasticity.
Elasticity,
yeah. Tempos have, songs have a little bit of push and pull, but it's very subtle, and you might not notice it, but you can actually feel it sometimes. Like, the chorus just, aside from having the lift, the drummer goes to the right, it has just a little bit more forward lean sometimes. It's like on the front edge of the beat, and if you took a metronome, that's a couple of clicks faster, but boy, I never would notice it. It never stands out as problematic, right?
Yeah,
I think a lot of the new music, and this is again off subject, this is just me on my soapbox. Sometimes when I hear music that's lined up and it's recorded that way and it's just real sterile.
Well,
and again, that's a side note.
That's actually a thing then that we can look at, Bart, is the pocket playing a little bit behind the beat. Drummers who don't know, we're talking about kind of like teasing the beat, playing just a little bit. There's on the click, ahead of the click, and behind the click. You could spend a lifetime just trying to figure that out. But kind of like I describe to my students, you're just sort of like teasing the snare drum. Look, just let it in there last minute, even though you're still with the metronome. That gives it a little human feel. Jeremy, I love the term elasticity. That's what I love about D.E.C. and I learn from you guys every day. I mean, that's a term I haven't used to describe this, and I'm going to start bringing that in. And so I just became a better drum teacher by what you just said, Jeremy. So
no problem. Just make sure that they put, every time you use that word, your students have to put a quarter in the jar for you. There you go.
And don't forget, Rick Stojak has anointed us with his technology.
Oh,
There it is.
Woo!
It's
There it
available
is.
at rickstojak.com. All three of these books are out now. And if you're a drum teacher, I can't recommend another curriculum higher than that. You're going to be
Right.
set up to teach all kinds of music with these three books.
Yeah, man.
Can I
Go ahead.
talk about? Is it okay if I talk about this book right here, Rick?
Yeah, let's hear
Phil,
about that.
the Phil book. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
The
So
first,
this is not. There's no songs in this. This is just Phil. Sorry, Jeremy. Go ahead.
oh, that's right. The first thing I want to point out is I actually have two versions of this book. One was one that Rick gave me when it first came out, and the other one he sent me, which is an updated version. I want to just point out, I don't know if you can quite tell the difference, but like,
Oh yeah.
look at the difference between those two books, right? You can see that one of them is much more robust than the other. And what a credit that is to Rick, that he didn't just put the book out and then move on. He added to it. He had ideas. From talking to us, from doing his own stuff, he had ideas to add things that would make the book even better, more comprehensive, more in detail, more in depth, and a better value for the students and the teachers working out of it. And so this new book's, I don't know, it's like 25% thicker than the first version, and it's got a ton more stuff in it. And I just love that you're always working on making it better, man. It's never like done. That's the first thing I wanted to say.
Being self-published, that's such a cool thing for you. Do you ever find that like it keeps you awake at night? You're like, oh crap, I forgot that. Now I got to do a new a revision to book 3. Does that happen?
God, all the time. In fact, this has been, the first book came out in 2012, and I keep adding and changing. I'll hear a song, and the drummer's laying down this perfect groove that fits right in on a certain page. It fits in with that category of beats, and then like, ooh, I think I might have to add that. I've driven my awesome designer Nancy Medeiros crazy because this lady has the patience of a Saint. Nancy, thank you. Yeah, so I felt, it's just like, to me, it's just a little bit like a school book. Like if I'm going to college in 2022, do I want the 1995 version of what we knew, or do I want the 2022? I want all the knowledge.
Yeah.
There's songs that have been created that came after the original prints of these books. And so I will say, though, I am getting pretty close to saying these versions are it, because they've been tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Just, I want to point out in this Phil book, there's the table of contents here, and it's 3 pages long. And I want to just read to you some of I want to demonstrate how comprehensive this book is by reading just a random selection of some of these chapter titles. You've got rhythmic building blocks, quarter note fills, eighth note fills on beats 3 and 4, mixing quarter, eighths, and rest on all 4 beats, mixing quarter, eighths, and rest on 3 toms, 16th note fills on beats 3 and 4, 1 en, 2 en fills, 1 en, 1 e, a 2 e of fills, fill walks where you keep fills starting at different parts in the bar, 2 note patterns, 4 note patterns, 4 bar fills, 32nd note fills, 16th note fills, accents, drum rolls, 5-stroke roll fills, triplet bass fills. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And in all my in my teaching, I sort of made an effort, kind of like Rick, but not nearly as comprehensive, to describe all the things that I heard happening in songs. So like, oh, okay, so there's this kind of thing, there's this kind of thing. Here's the building blocks. Here's the applications. Here's the orchestration fills. Here's rolls, fills with 32nd notes. Here's fills with press rolls. Here's fills with accents. Here's fills with flams. And it's a little bit like I've got stuff all over the place, and Rick's got it all in one spot, and it's so good. You don't have to go through the whole book. You might come in might have a student come in and they've already got a pretty good handle on 16th note syncopation and orchestrations around the kit. Great. Have you messed with triplet fills? Have you worked on 32nd note fills? How about fills incorporating the bass drum? Right. There's all these different ways, different sort of angles to come at this thing, and there's so many different aspects of it to learn as a student and as a player. And this book is just the most comprehensive book about playing fills I've ever seen. Everything you could think of, it's in there.
Oh man.
So there's more
Thanks,
than one
Jeremy.
drum fill and more than one drum groove.
There's two.
There's
two.
That's okay.
there's
That's the
two.
problem. I only know
two.
the one.
You know,
That's
you know Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, right? That
Yeah,
one.
yeah, I got that one down.
And Bucket of Fish. I know you know that one.
Bucket of
Oh yeah,
fish,
there's
I
two.
got
There
that
is
one.
two.
There's two.
Bucket of fish. Bucket of fish.
Right.
Bucket of fish. And then, well, we talked about Black Dog. Bucket of fish. Bucket of fish. Pop. Bucket of fish. Bucket of fish. Pop.
Well, and you know that was stolen from Max Roach, who stole it from Sid Catlett. Sticky to boom bop, sticky to boom bop, sticky to boom bop bop.
Good composers borrow, great composers steal, brother.
Exactly.
Another reason to learn your music history, to learn where
There
it
you go.
all came
Yeah.
from. You know,
So, Rick,
And-
when you start like on the fill book, I mean that alone, like Jeremy said, there's so many breakdowns of fills. There's so many different types of fills, like accents on the E beat, so and so forth. Just so many. Do you like go on this thing where you're on a mission? Okay, I'm just gonna listen to songs where there's an accent on the beat of a 16th note. I'm just pulling something out of the air here. Do you go on an active mission to find that stuff, or do you just, oh, there it is, you hear it? How do you go about doing that? Because man, that's deep stuff, bro.
I think it's a combination of just kind of looking at it in order.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do with a 16th note?
Yeah.
Right? I could do a 4-beat. I got 4 yanda. Right? Well, then let's see what other combinations. Well, I can start using the toms. Right? Oh, let's work in a kick. Oh, unison. That's a 1-beat 16th note fill. So I really just think, what are all the permutations? I think, like, if I was in the recording studio and a musical director, producer, songwriter said, I just want a short little fill that's kind of busy. Da 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 da. I just want one of those. That's what they're going to say. I want da 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 da.
Yep.
Well, what are all the combinations of da 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 that I could think of? And I write them down. Then I make it a little longer. Well, that's a 1-beat fill, right? Well, I could then start it on the and. Make it a little longer. 1, 2. Then how about, okay, let's do a 2-beat fill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and a 4 yanda.
Right.
Makes sense. It's just building up, right? And then eventually you're doing 4-beat 16th note fills, and then I just kind of include every combination you could think of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll do the same thing. Instead of 4 16th notes, 2 16ths and an 8th. The barbecue. We got a 1, 2, 3. Right? Our barbecue fill. Right? Barbecue. Oh, and backwards. Right? Oh, I did it.
See, I go chicken wing. What about
chicken wing? See, Bart, I just got another.
What about some teriyaki chicken wing?
All right, now I'm gonna get hungry.
Wow.
How about hot dog, watermelon chicken wing? How about that? Hot dog, watermelon chicken wing.
Teriyaki.
Yeah,
Oh
now
God.
I'm starving. Now
The phonetics are amazing to be able to work in. No doubt. So I'll just build up on that. A short, a 1-beat fill, 1.5-beat fill, 2-beat fill, using that rhythm. Using the given rhythm. And then we've got 1 andas, right? 1, 2, 3. We've got the 4 anda, right? Then we could go just take people through the whole thing. And then we do that. And then as Jeremy mentioned, there's rhythmic building blocks, which I'll show you here. The rhythmic building blocks is basically I don't know if you guys could see this.
Yeah.
That's all of the even note rhythms that exist. Quarters, eighths, and 16ths, 2 16ths and an 8th, the 3-note rhythms, they're all there. So basically all of those are going to get broken down. And then later in the book, we do that whole entire thing for triplets.
Yep.
So
it's so funny. So I love this, Rick, because I have a very similar thing. It's laid out a little bit differently, but it's great minds think alike. Like figuring out how to distill it down to the building blocks, and then put those blocks in sequences, and then move around the kit, and then you've got endless possibilities. And not only that, but you cover 95% of what you're going to hear.
that's exactly what I'm saying, because when you go through this, you're familiar with all of the permutations that are out there rhythmically.
Right.
You're not just jumping around, and that could be a problem if you're trying to do a chart. There might be, you could really get most of the chart, but then there's these rhythms that are really, really fancy. Right. I kind of take you through, so once you've been through the book, you could read any fill. You could figure out what any fill really is, because you've got a deep understanding of the rhythms that exist.
Right.
So
I think that goes along with something that I've said to students for years. I'm sure you guys have said this or have a version of it. I always say, if you can say it, you can play it.
Right.
Like we were joking a little bit, hot dog, watermelon, chicken wing. I mean, with little kids, you do things like that. But if you can say it, you can play it. And that's what I like about your books too, because of those rhythmic breakdowns, and because of the fact that let's break this down. And like Jeremy said, we laughed a moment ago, but kind of giving them their vegetables with their dessert, that's where you're feeding that stuff in. And then, like you've said before, peppering in the 5-stroke roll fill that you played a moment ago. That stuff's just brilliant. That's brilliant. Now, that being said, if somebody says, "Hey, what was that roll you played?" and you said, "Oh, it's a 5-stroke roll," do you take that opportunity to, "Hey, let's spin over to the pad for a second and let's do some 5s. Here's the rudiment sheet," and do that?
Yeah, that's gold right there. When they're excited and there's something that they're touching, they're understanding, they have some sort of concept, but they don't know exactly what it is, and they've got enthusiasm. Yeah, they've got the spark. Exactly. Then you're like, oh, okay, let's go to the pad, or just play on the snare, and we'll get that rhythm. And so often they'll say, "What is that? I have to know what that is that you just played, because I've always wanted to play that." And I'll say, "Oh, these are bucket of fishes." Or we like to call these bucket of fishes in the drumming world. So I'll say, "Hey man, turn to page 113. What you're talking about, what you like, is page 113. So I know we're working on page 1, several other pages, but you can look at page 113 while you're looking at page 110.
That's right. And most of these, for the intermediate drummer or advanced beginner, let's say, are fairly, they're not that hard to pick up, because they go step by step,
Right.
And what I've done with this book with students who are working on their fills is I've worked on, just like you're saying, several pages simultaneously. We're working on the 4-beat fills around the kit with 16th notes, but then we're also delving into these 32nd note fills just to get some basic ideas of that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the nice things about the book, is it's like you could keep 4 or 5 different tabs in there going simultaneously, and it's not overwhelming.
That's right, Jeremy. And as a matter of fact, I have people working on all of the books at the same time. It's not set up where page 1 is the easiest, page 2 is a little harder, page 3 is a little harder. Yeah. It's categories that you need to know or will want to know as a drummer, and you can work on multiple things at the same time. You're not going to it's like at school, right? You're not going to master the mathematic book before you pick up the English book.
Right.
So you can work.
I say that same thing, Rick, all the time. It's like you're working on different subjects, and my students always have a number of books that they're going through.
Right.
It's not, you don't just focus on one book, because, and we do have books where, okay, I'm going to take you through this book because this is a subject matter. But while you're going through Rick Stojak's volume 3, you can also be going through stick control. And you can
Right,
also be
right.
learning how to read a chart with Tommy Igoe's Groove Essentials,
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
hey, I'm
Exactly.
really trying to get my left hand happening. Well, we do this, here out of Rick's book, and then let's go to Ted Reed's book and do that. Now,
Right.
that being said, do you use other books? Do you use stuff, or do you just focus on your books and your books alone?
I do occasionally use other books, but it's getting rarer and rarer as I'm trying to finish up volume 4, which was triplet based books, which had all the shuffles, halftime shuffles, a million permutations of shuffles, all the 12/8 feel, anything with a triplet feel, trying to write jazz
and double bass.
Yeah, and then I went, okay, well, I'm going to add specialty beats. So I'm like, oh, let's add double bass and unison beats, and then all the world beat stuff. And I'm realizing, damn, the book 4 is going to be too big. I might have to make it book 4 and 5 and split it into 2.
Oh man.
Yeah, because I'm like, why? I'm like, damn, why is book 4 taking me 2.5 years?
Rick,
It takes me a couple weeks to write a page.
When you're done, you're going to have the whole boxed set, like leather bound edition, like the Harry Potter collection.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the Chronicles of Narnia.
Exactly.
It'll be the Chronicles of Stojak.
I'll burn in on a leather Rick Stojak drum studio and Beck logo.
I got a question for you, Rick. You have in the back of the book, it's got build your own groove, where you've written out the ride pattern, and then you left the rest of it blank so people can write their own grooves. As a teacher or as an author, how'd you come up with that? Where's the thinking behind that?
When you get those players who are real good ear players, and you think maybe they're reading the book, and then they're like, and then you're like, okay, so here it is. Here's the first half. You write the second half in, and then you discover that they can't read anything.
Yep. Been there a million times.
And I've got a lot of pages on that complete your own groove. I just felt that I've shown them, look, this is how I'm going to work it. If I'm playing in an original, writing a drum beat for a song, if someone hires me for recording, because I am doing some recording now. And I've used that my entire life, where I write down what I'm playing. And I thought, well, this could be a great opportunity for people to really feel more involved, because they're kind of writing the end of the book themselves.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah. That's cool.
And people get really, really excited about that. So I'll, here's some 2-bar grooves starting with quarter notes. And I just let them, hey, what do you think of beat 3/4?
Yeah.
Write something in for 3/4, and they actually get a pencil out, and they're like, oh, I came up with that, and then no matter what they write, I go, well, that's cool. That's cool. That sounds interesting.
When I was sorry.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
I was going to say, when I was a teenager, I was studying with a really great jazz teacher in New York. His name was Norman Grossman. And he had one of the assignments that was like a weekly assignment for me, in addition to working all the stuff I had to write out like an 8-bar groove or snare piece or solo or whatever, and come in and have practiced whatever I wrote.
Yeah.
And it's something I do with my students now sometimes too. And I just love what they come up with. Sometimes I've even taken what they've done over the course of several months and, transcribed it in Sibelius, so they have it all computerized. And, these are, Joe's beats, and this is all the stuff that you've come up with. And it's like a catalog of really cool.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, man. The creativity is astounding.
Yeah.
I'm going to borrow that from you. That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's a great way to go.
That's what you're talking about.
Cool.
Yeah. All of this stuff has been beta tested. That's the whole thing. I am an educator. I'm a dedicated teacher. Yep. It's different from an intuitive rock and roll or drumming genius who at 18 they could already play and they don't even know how they got there, and then they're making a drum method book. All due respect to everybody who ever put out a method book, because you're helping to contribute to the drumming community and helping the world out. So that's that's real rad. But you know, Zorro coached me initially when I had this concept and really encouraged me to do this. And he's like, who better to write a drum method book than a drum teacher? Hello, what a concept. What a,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that I
And
remember. Sorry,
I-
I didn't.
I go ahead. Sorry.
I'll take a sheet. So I have sheets that I'm, you know, for instance, I'm working on the next book. I've got a file drawer full of sheets, and I'll just give them a photocopy of the page that we're working on, give that to my students, and then we'll play it. And then from there, wow, it's going to get tweaked.
Yeah.
And
I remember having a conversation with you, Rick, not long after I met you, and you had handed me your copy of How to Build a Drum Groove.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. And you said, everything that is in every one of my books comes from real life testing.
Yeah.
This isn't an idea that I had that I just thought would be cool, or it's like, this is stuff that I've tried out on my students, and I've collected what works.
Right.
And you know, what better testimony there is for a book like yours than that it was created from stuff that works in real life, in real time, with real students and real lessons. It's not a theoretical book. It's not a, you know, what I think a drummer should learn. It's like, no, this is what I found to be successful with all the students that I work with.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy. And you know what? I teach about 30 hours a week, and I love it. And I'm at the point now where I'm referring new inquiries to some of my better students.
Yep.
And I, you know, and I referred somebody to Bart recently too.
Yeah,
which
you
was
did.
really,
As a
really
matter
cool.
of fact, kid's
Yeah,
doing great. Thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, my pleasure.
I want to
and-
touch on that, what you just said, real quick, Rick, because I want
Okay.
to throw this in there.
Okay.
One of the things that I want people to know about Rick too is I think there's a big difference between being sure of yourself and confident in your abilities, and then having a big ego and you know, and being overly narcissistic or whatever, you know. I mean, Rick has a lot of confidence in what he's doing, and he has a very much a vision in mind of what he's doing, and that is huge for anybody that's trying to succeed with the music business or any kind of business. Those things, they have to happen. But that being said, that is not an ego thing. That is just being sure of oneself. Rick is never afraid to reach out to any of us, or to any, I'm sure, your students or anybody around you for help. One of the things that happens a lot with us on the deck is we'll get a group text, and it'll be Rick, and he'll go, "Hey guys, I'm writing this section of the book, and I'm doing the one I remember recently. I'm working on train beats, you know, and can you guys give me some ideas of train beats?" And I remember I chimed in with what the Cowgirls do in Southside of D.E.C. from and then Chip, you know, he throws a couple, and Jeremy throws a couple at him, and we're all helping make his knife sharper. And that's not to go like this to us, that's to say Rick's sure of himself and his vision, but his ego is so small, he's not afraid to ask his friends, "Hey guys, what do you think of this? Try this, play it for me and tell me if it's great, tell me if it's horrible." And that is huge. That is so amazing about Rick's books and his teaching ability and stuff like that. So I just want to throw that out.
Yeah, you know, another thing about these books that I like that we haven't said, and it probably goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. As a teacher, they're really well made. They're big, they're solid, they fold out of the barrel, they sit on a music stand perfectly. You know what I mean? It's not something that you have to deal with. They're ergonomic to teaching. You know what I mean? You can really lay them out and go over. I also wanted to say hi to Josh Posey and Jacob Sosa. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to get these books at rickstojak.com.
Yep. They're also available at the Aquarian online marketplace as well. And
Rick, is there a digital version of these books that's going to be available at some point?
There will be a digital version available at some point. I am kind of weighing my options. There's an amazing publisher out there that might be really fun to be part of. So I've got to just kind of weigh the options and see what the best direction is at this point. So,
but for now, the best place to get them is rickstojak.com. Is that right?
That is correct. And yeah, I have a great printer here in San Diego, and yeah, I wanted to make the laminated or the spiral bound. How many of you have ever had a book that's stapled and you put it on the stand and it just falls apart?
Yep.
You need clothespins to hold it. It's so there's definitely extra expense in creating that binding. And then what I found is that if you just put a cardboard cover on a binding, the cardboard cover starts perforating. It starts falling apart up here.
Yep.
So I went ahead and laminated the inside and outside covers, which gave it a real cool glossy kind of computer look. But man, they're iron proof. You could spill coffee on them, which is what's fueled making these books. So,
sounds like it. Again, this is beta tested. It sounds like to me.
Exactly.
Kathy Smoller Smith said Rick's permutations make you realize how automatic one becomes in where certain drums are placed. At first, because of habit, they are awkward. Then she also said, as a former math teacher, Bloom's taxonomy of learning is remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and finally creating. Thank you for those comments, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy is an amazing student of mine. She is, our lady who's retired, and she's just full on pedal to the metal as a drummer now. And she's gigging. She's playing gigs like crazy. She's going to drum camps. Awesome. She takes online lessons, and she's in here every week. It's like a rebirth for retirement, and that's what drums can do. So thank you, Kathy. I'm grateful for you. And cool. Yeah. The other thing real quick I wanted to point out, and this could be helpful for teachers too, is if we work on a page, I write the date down. You write the date and then you just put a little sticky tab. And now, okay, that's where we left off.
Yeah.
And it's just so simple. So a student's like, say, what am I going to practice? Well, you just go to wherever the tab was where we left off and see the date there. And then, take it from there.
I use sticky tabs in your books too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody does that. I don't know if it's obvious, but that's really, really worked well for me.
Rick, how much do your books cost?
Volume 1 and 2 are just $25. And that'll include the shipping and the tax. And then the volume 3 is $30.
Volumes 1 and 2 are 25 each.
25 each. 25 each. Yeah, 25 each. My printing costs were in negotiations. So
sure. Well,
the printer makes so much of the money. So anybody who's out there thinking you're going to get rich making drum books, the printer is going to make. Well, I don't know what the printer's costs are, but so much goes into the cost of printing.
Oh yeah.
Let me a book, $25. I don't know, $30. That seems expensive for a book, but man, this book will pay you back huge dividends, and it really you'll be like, by the time you're a few pages in, you won't even think about that. You'll just be glad about how much you're getting out of it, and there's so many years of experience and thought and technical know-how that's put into these books. Honestly, it's a bargain. It's a total bargain.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chip.
Say, when you guys order your books, make sure you ask him to autograph them.
Yeah.
For sure.
I got mine signed.
Hey, mine's not autographed.
Make sure you ask.
Why is theirs autographed and mine's not? What the hell?
What? No.
Yep.
Come on.
Look at that.
No, you're on the notes page, Bart. Go in.
Go in.
There's a notes page at the beginning. It's blank. Right before the table of contents, there should be an autograph there.
You got an autograph, Bart.
I'll find it. I'll find it. I was just giving you a hard time anyhow. That's
you know
okay.
what? If you want the book,
I want to.
Rick-
I want to say this. I want to say this about you know. I want to kind of echo what Jeremy said and Chip said. You know, you got to realize when you buy a book for $25, you're getting a book. You're getting a lot of knowledge. You're getting a two, like Rick said, everybody said, a true beta tested book on what works. And you're also buying a part of the guy's soul because he put so much into this. I mean, for like 4
That's
volumes of books for somebody, it's true. I mean, all of us are published authors, and we all know what it takes to put these books out. And so yeah, it is. You're buying something that he really put his heart and soul into. That being said, heart and soul, Rick, you're in the hot seat, and sorry, you're not getting out of the question. You got to answer it. Everybody has to answer it. It's a deck tradition. And we're talking San Diego, not home in New York, down in San Diego.
Yeah, baby.
Where do we buy pizza? The best pizza in San Diego. Where do you get it?
Oh man, Felipe's Pizza Grotto.
Felipe's Pizza Grotto.
Yeah, we're talking Sicilians. I'm half Sicilian. These guys have it together. There's several different Felipe's now, but it was started down in Little Italy on India Street. So, you know, you got that Little Italy vibe, and the original one is the Italian deli, and you walk in and you smell you see the prosciutto and the salami and all the cheeses and the olives. It's like, whoa, that's a lot of olives. And it's just so quaint, and wine bottles everywhere. It's sick. But the one up in Scripps Ranch in San Diego off Mira Mesa Boulevard is, my wife Julie and I love going there. It's our go-to. And you walk in and you go to the bar area, and it feels like you're back east. You know, it's dark in there, and they got the little red lights, you know, like the string lights all over the place. And, you know, they've got a flat screen with some sports on, and man, it's thick, solid pizza.
Right on.
It's good. It's not full Sicilian, but it's like thick crust. And
it's half Sicilian, like you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't have a snare drum, but you got my desk and a cymbal.
For dessert, be sure to get the ice cream cone with the broccoli inside.
No, don't listen to Jeremy.
In fact, if you order,
he doesn't know what he's talking about.
If you order a book, I'll include a free slice of pizza. I'll put it.
Oh man!
Whoa, that might get expensive.
I'll put it in there. Yeah, it'll weigh it down. It'll cost a lot because it's a thick.
The shipping.
Pizza.
You'll get killed with the shipping.
Yeah. Hey guys, real quick, I did one last thing on the book. I did want to mention is that it's not just songs that I use. There are lots of other permutations. It's just when I find a song that fits in with that permutation, it's included. But if there is a song listed, they're all up on my YouTube channel. And that's what I love about YouTube, is that everybody can access it. And so you just go to my channel, you look on playlists, and you'll see HBDG for How to Build a Drum Groove Volume 1, 8th Note Beat playlist, right? And it'll say what page it is. And then I'll have the version of the song that I referenced for the transcription. But I might include a video of the band live. I might include a karaoke version. And then, you know, it's so great because our drumming really has to respond to the lyrics and what the singers do. And so I have that version, not karaoke, but the version that'll have the lyrics on YouTube. And so you're playing along and, you know, you're following the lyrics. And then there's some even drumless versions that are up on YouTube from the video games. So
very cool.
Yeah. So that makes it super fun.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, thanks you guys for tuning in. We did a deep dive today into Rick Stojak's How to Build a Drum Groove series of books. And Rick, thanks for putting these out into the world, man.
Thank you, Rick.
You guys are brothers. I'm in awe, and I can't even believe how lucky I am. I'm speechless, which is hard to do. So thank you guys so much. I'm honored, and it's a true privilege. And I just want people to enjoy drumming and build their drum groove and just have some fun drumming. And so I'm happy to help, and feel free to contact me, anybody, if you have any questions on it.
Right on. Thank
All
you,
right.
Rick.
We'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for
Love
tuning
you
in.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you guys.
everybody.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks,
See you next.
everybody.
Here we got to twirl out. We twirled
Twirl
in.
out.
We got to twirl out. We got to
Twirl out.
twirl out.
We're twirling out.
We're twirling out. I really wish